Hello and welcome to Pleasure for the Masses. This podcast is going to be about everything that I love, everything that brings me pleasure. It's going to be about how do we break out of that sort of like monotony of desire, craving, chasing, lust, of all these things that we want, but we don't know how to get, so they just end up being thoughts in our head that kind of dissipate, and we just jump back on the wagon and go back about our day. But we don't have to do that, guys and gals and everyone in between. I want you to know that you can have what you want. You can dream bigger and get the things that you want. But there are a few things that you're going to need to learn to get out of your own way. There's a lot of things that you're going to have to unlearn to get out of your own way. And I'm in the journey with you too. Like, I'm also unlearning a lot of these things. And that's why I'm doing this podcast, so we can go on this journey towards pleasure together. So Pleasure for the Masses is just as much for me as it is for you. I want to give you some examples from my own life of how I have held myself back from pleasure. I have not believed in myself. I have undermined the hard work that I've done. I have scorned the business and practice and life I have built for myself because one small thing might be missing, because I thought I should be doing something else. And when we don't look at the abundance that's right in front of us, we have the inability to create more abundance. So abundance is this word that's thrown around, and I freaking hate it. I hate the word abundance. But the truth about pleasure is that that's what it leads us to, and that's also where it comes from. And we're on this journey together. I am going to have guests on the show that are going to help me uncover the different ways in which we come to pleasure. I will talk about sex because sex therapy is my business and how I make money. But I will also talk about music because I'm a songwriter and I make music and I play in a band. I will also talk about poetry and read poetry on here because, like I said, I'm a writer. And I'm not just a songwriter, but I write all sorts of things. Making films is another thing that brings me such immense joy. But when I try to turn filmmaking and music making and songwriting into a business, feeding into capitalism, feeding into this side of myself that feeds on success, that feeds on how many followers I have, that feeds on how many people are going to be listening to this. When I get into that space, that's where I lose pleasure. When I start to look into ways of doing instead of being, that's where I lose my connection to pleasure. I'm going to read you something that I read today on the internets, on the interwebs, on Facebook. A friend of mine posted it, and the author of this is Paul Weinfeld. And this is what he says. Leonard Cohen said his teacher once told him that the older you get, the lonelier you become, and the deeper the love you need. This is because as we go through life, we tend to over-identify with being the hero of our stories. The hero isn't exactly having fun. He's getting kicked around, humiliated, and disgraced. But if we can let go of identifying with him, we can find our rightful place in the universe and a love more satisfying than we've ever known. People constantly throw around the term hero's journey without having any idea what it really means. Everyone from CEOs to wellness influencers think the hero's journey means facing your fears, slaying a dragon, and gaining 25,000 followers on Instagram. But that's not the real hero's journey. In the real hero's journey, the dragon slays you. Much to your surprise, you couldn't make that marriage work. Much to your surprise, you turned 40 with no kids, no house, no prospects. Much to your surprise, the world didn't want the gifts you proudly offered it. If you are foolish, this is where you will abort the journey, start another and another, abusing your heart over and over for the brief illusion of winning. But if you are wise, you will let yourself be shattered, return to the village humbled, but with a newfound sense that you don't have to identify with the part of you that needs to win, needs to be recognized, needs to know. This is where your transcendent life begins. So, embrace humility in everything. Life isn't out to get you, nor are your struggles your fault. Every defeat is just an angel tugging at your sleeve, telling you that you don't have to keep banging your head against the wall. Leave that striver there, trapped in his lonely ambitions. Just walk away, and life in its vastness will embrace you. Paul Weinfeld wrote that, and I saw that this morning, and I think that very much encompasses pleasure for the masses. I'm excited to have you here, and I will be back for more very soon.